Welcome to this episode of Teaching Academia. I'm Leigh Hall, and today I'm going to be talking to you about tools I use. And I know it looks like it's spelled Kaizena, but it is pronounced Kaizen. And it is a tool that you can use to give feedback to your students. So what we're going to be talking about today is what is Kaizen, how do I use it, and what do students think of it. And I'm going to be linking to information about Kaizen in the show notes, and I'm also going to be linking to a post I wrote a while back about my thoughts on Kaizen, a little more detail for you. All right, so first of all, what is it? All right, now their website is going to provide you with a lot more details, but what it is it is a site where students can go in, and you can use this with students of any age. I use it obviously because I'm in higher ed. I use it with college students, but you can go in, students go in and they upload papers, and then you or even other students can read those papers, documents, whatever, and give them feedback. You can give them verbal feedback, you can give them written feedback, right? You can mix it up. It doesn't have to be just one or the other. Kaizen is really focused on providing a tool that gives you high quality feedback. You create private groups for your students. So for example, right now, I've created a group for master students that are working on a project, and they have a code, and their code allows them to go in and put in their paper. I give them feedback on it. I'm the only one that sees the feedback, right? They don't, the way that I have it set up, they do not see the feedback. Other students don't see feedback on each other's papers, okay? And like I said, students upload documents to the system, and as the instructor, I'm able to give them verbal feedback, written feedback. And what's nice about it is I can highlight a section of the paper, write a sentence, a word, a paragraph, whatever, and then I can leave verbal or written feedback on it, and then it's tied directly to that spot. So the student knows exactly what portion of the paper the feedback is tied to. It's really easy. So how do I use it? I typically don't do a lot of written feedback on Kaizen. I like the verbal feedback option on it. I use it for papers, dissertation proposals, dissertations, that sort of thing. I mean, you could use it on pretty much anything, I imagine. For me, what I have found is I only give written feedback on Kaizen if it's something really short and very pointed. Like it might be correcting a grammar mistake or cleaning up a sentence or something like that. But I tend to give verbal feedback. And what I personally believe is that my verbal comments are much better than my written comments. I feel like I can be clearer, I feel like I can say more. I'm not going to sit there and write for a really long comment. Kaizen does limit your verbal comments to 3 minutes. Typically, what I have found is if I've hit 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it's time to stop anyways, because I really need to break that up into, I'm really talking about more than one thing, and I need to break it up into 2 separate comments. My feedback is way more thorough. I think it's clearer. I think it's much more pointed. I'm really happy with the kind of feedback that I give to my students. Now, what do students think? My concern when I started using Kaizen was that because most of it was verbal and not written, that students might have a hard time tracking what it is they're supposed to do. Because I know for me, when I get feedback on manuscripts that I submit, it's always written, and it's easy for me to look at that written feedback and compare it against my paper and figure out what I need to do. And so my concern was that students would have a hard time listening to a comment and then translating that into action without being able to go back and read it on paper. That has never been the case. All right, and I've always asked students to be really honest with me, and I let them know what this platform is that I'm using, and I tell them if it doesn't work for you, I tell them I'm going to give you a lot of verbal feedback. If the verbal feedback does not work for you, tell me, and we will go to strictly written, okay, or mostly written. And nobody's ever told me that it doesn't work for them. They love it. They do agree with me that the quality is better when I'm giving verbal comments than simply written comments alone, especially students that have gotten, like a doctoral student that's doing a dissertation, somebody that's gotten feedback from me over time. When they started getting just verbal or mostly verbal instead of just written, they've all said, oh, it's so much better, okay? They find it to be much more thorough and more helpful. But the other interesting thing that students say is that hearing my voice helps them, because a lot of times students will say that they have personalized my feedback. They will say that, I told them to add something in or take something out, or I might say, you have organizational problems with this particular aspect of your paper, and I don't think anything less of them, but they think, or they are worried that somehow I think they're not a good writer or they're not very smart, right? They put all this emotional baggage, they attach it to the written comment. And it was never there in the first place. I never thought those things. And they say when they hear my voice, they realize I'm not angry with them. I don't think less of them. I'm just simply telling them, here's what you need to do to make it better. And so hearing my voice, hearing voice tone really helps students, I think, on an emotional level, do some better work. All right, so those are my thoughts on Kaizen. I highly recommend you give it a try. Like I said, I will link to it in the show notes. It's free to use. If you have questions or tools that you'd like for me to use and try out, please contact me. I'm at leahall39@gmail.com, and check out my website, Teaching Academia, where we talk about issues of teaching and learning in higher ed, leahall.wordpress.com.